Hello and thank you for joining us on Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. I am Mark Otabo. Federal government says tax reform bills will scrap more than 15 nuisance taxes as CSOs demand for fair, inclusive tax system. Mele Kyari says new Port Harcourt refinery over 90% completed as Ajero and other labor leaders confirm it's working fine. And finally, bank workers blame CBN for naira scarcity. All the details in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. The federal government said the tax reform bills will bring about equitable allocation of resources with the elimination of over 50 nuisance taxes suffered by local businesses. This came as a civil society organization, CSOs, called on the federal government to build a fair and inclusive tax system that reflects alignment of fiscal policies with economic stabilization. Now, speaking at a briefing in Asaba, Delta State, the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, NOA, Malam Lanre Isa Unilu, emphasized the essence of the bills as a way of easing the burden on hard-working Nigerians. Now, joining us to discuss this is, of course, I have Ayodele Adio, as a policy analyst who might be joining us on Zoom. We're still trying to establish connections with him, but of course, in the studio right here with me, I've got Supriala Membre, a political analyst, ever vibrant, ever present. Good to have you on the show.
Nice to be here.
Fantastic. Now, according to the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, right? Anyway, Malam Lanre Isa, he said the bills were designed to scrap the over 15 nuisance taxes suffered by local businesses. Now, this is a welcoming development, knowing that finally local businesses will start breathing.
Obviously, it's a long time coming.
Right.
If we are very serious about, utilizing taxes as, will I say, as a weapon for development. Nuisance taxes has always been, a problematic for businesses, especially, MSMEs, that is micro, medium scale business.
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, some people allege that nuisance taxes are even more than officially collected taxes.
Yeah.
But when they say it's going to eliminate nuisance taxes, we now ask the question, who are those behind the nuisance taxes?
Okay.
For instance, the bill is saying the federal government will be the collector of these taxes and then allocation of these taxes through derivation formula, which I personally do not agree with as the ad hoc committee, for horizontal and vertical derivation. Okay. Because I believe that the FAC has that responsibility as constitutionally empowered.
Right.
And as we've seen even within the internal memos of the FAC, when they were asked to give an opinion, they said, they are opposed to it, not officially, but unofficially. If you read through the reports, you will see it, even when they came out to deny and say, another thing. But the point is this: who collects the nuisance taxes? They are local governments. They are, unofficial tax collectors. Those who, quote and unquote, are
finding a way around the system to just,
So my question is, how then do we stop nuisance taxes? It's not about saying it's eliminating 15 nuisance taxes, but how do we stop those so-called, illegal tax collectors from collecting?
But I believe with the way the structure is going to be set up, nuisance taxes might finally find its way out.
But how? That's what we're asking. How? You write on paper, right? But how? The modalities for executing it. Look, the bill...
So are you saying the federal government will not have stringent measures in putting in place a structure to nab those who might want to go against whatever structure that will be established?
In how many places? That's the question. In how many places? Because again, most of these nuisance taxes are collected at the local levels. So do we now have a new agency in charge of, or do we now empower the FIRS or one agency to go after these people?
But don't you think the autonomy that the local governments will be enjoying now would actually take their minds away from wanting to start exploiting people through nuisance taxes? At least now, if the local government can begin to stand on their own, now having to be independent, as it were.
But we seem to also forget that these nuisance taxes are also used to settle political this thing at the grassroots levels. All these issues, we do not want to put them out, but we have to be honest with ourselves. I come from a state where I've seen that as the, unofficial tax collectors everywhere.
Like the norm.
It's the norm.
Right.
And everybody knows how they are empowered, and sometimes, you know. So the point is this: this cannot only be executed by the federal government.
Okay.
And I've always asked, the tax bill is good on paper.
Okay.
I disagree with some parts of it. Derivation, vertical and horizontal derivation, sharing formula. I disagree with those. And also VAT increment that is not based on indices, set indices. I disagree with those things. But the rest, eliminating nuisance taxes, perfect.
All right.
You understand?
All right.
But how?
Okay. Well, you are still emphasizing on the how, even though I'm trying to prefer some avenues for you to not even raise that, but it's okay. Now, another argument on the bill is that the VAT will no longer be calculated based on where companies have their headquarters, but where the goods are consumed. Now, break this down in simple terms. Now, some parts of the North frowns against alcohol consumption. What now happens if other ethnicities who reside in the North love alcohol? Will their Sharia law still prevail over the economic viability of that product?
But as someone who has lived in Kano, I mean, I've been in Kano not so long, but I know that there are places they sell alcohol.
Okay.
You know, and it's not only in Kano, in some other places.
Parts of the north.
Yes. Okay. There are places that they sell alcohol. I think there's, I don't know if it's official or unofficial agreement between the authorities and the, you know, non-indigenous or Muslims usually go there to relax, rewind, and the rest of that.
Okay.
And I don't think it's even strange, because when we go to, you know, the Arab world, some countries, they do not have alcohol in public, but there are places in, in Dubai, there are places where you can have alcohol. You understand? You can have alcohol. So I mean, so it's not like this alcohol is banned in the north totally. There are places where you go and have alcohol. So it's derivation, right? So everybody's saying it's equitable. But what I do not understand is why an ad hoc committee, because it is that the tax reform committee is an ad hoc committee. Okay. It's not a committee empowered by the constitution to delve into derivation. In fact, let me say tax reform, like VAT, for instance. They can make recommendations about VAT. Okay. It's understandable. All right. I disagree with the increase in VAT without indices. Right. Not that I disagree with increase in VAT, but I disagree with increase in VAT without indices. For instance, if you say VAT should move up from so percent to so percent, it should be based on indices of improved purchasing power of citizens. Okay. Because VAT is a consumption tax. Right. So if purchasing power hasn't improved by so indices, then why should we improve tax? Because again, we are forgetting that taxation is a part and a function of social contracts. Okay. Social contract and wealth redistribution.
So what you're saying is there has to be a viable economic process.
Exactly.
For people to actually raise their purchasing power for the VAT to now be established.
Exactly. Because
have it increase.
Taxation is more or less, you talk about wealth redistribution. Right. But if people are going down and you're taxing them, I mean, you're not redistributing wealth. You're redistributing poverty.
They're regressing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that it should be balanced. All right. You understand? I'm not against increasing VAT. All right. But that's for the ad hoc committee. I believe that they are empowered to do. Okay. But the one of derivation, how it's going to be shared and the rest of that, it is what I believe they are not constitutionally empowered to do. Okay. And I believe that there is a need for further consultation. Look, everybody believes that it's a good. And even, I think the governors of the North are not saying that the bill is totally bad. Yeah, but
that was their initial cry. And I think they started reading up on the bill and started having an understanding of the bill, and their tone started to change.
I'm very happy about that, because, you know, it now shows an improvement in our, you know, our awareness. Yes, and our awareness. So I'm very happy about that, right? But the point is, I want those who have objections to be heard. Okay. The president has said, liaise with these people and arrive at an agreed. I was listening to Professor Zulum. He was talking about what modalities have been put in place to stop both nuisance taxes and also collecting taxes.
Before we write off this topic, just in 30 seconds, because we have to go to the next story now, how will the government ensure that the tax system is more transparent, efficient, and less bureaucratic after the reforms?
Well, I mean, Lagos State is doing a very fantastic job. I mean, LIRS doing a very fantastic job. And you see the integration of technology in doing it. You understand? So, I mean, technology is one of the things we can utilize. But also, there has to be collaboration and a buy-in from the citizens. If citizens believe that their taxes is still the same thing, when I talk about social contract, it is hinged on trust, that I bequeath my resources to you, and I'm seeing that things are being done.
Okay, properly.
Yes, properly. You find out that tax evasion would reduce.
Okay. If the trust is now established.
Established, so that's it.
All right. Now we take a time out now, and Newsweek continues in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. During the week, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Mele Kyari, announced that the new 150,000 barrels per day Port Harcourt refinery is over 90% complete. This was also confirmed by the leaders of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, during a visit to this facility. This development is coming weeks after the old 60,000 per barrel plant in the Port Harcourt refinery started its operation. I still have with me Supriala Membre here. As I said earlier on, we're still trying to establish contact with Ayodele Adeyu. Supriala, very good. Now, with this new revelation, right, on the Port Harcourt refinery, would you say all the controversies and counter-arguments that trailed this refinery would be finally put to rest for us to now start focusing on the gains? The way you laughed, that was cheeky.
Well, the truth is there's still a lot not known to people. Pengassin was saying the refinery is functioning, but the reformer unit crucial for direct refining of PMS is not functioning. That's Pengassin. So you have NLC and TUC saying one other thing. On the other hand, you have Pengassin, which are stakeholders in industry, saying another thing.
But you know NLC will not have come out to say it wasn't working fine, because NLC is also working for the people. And they have also been advocating for the fuel price to go down. So if NLC is coming out to say it's looking good, why are you throwing your doubts on that?
I'm not throwing my doubts on that. I want it to work.
Okay.
I honestly do want it to work.
Right.
But, I mean, I still question the technical ability of NNPC to know a difference between a functional refinery that can directly refine crude oil into PMS and a quote-unquote
so you
blender they call, whatever.
So are you saying the inspection they went for, they would not have gone with experts that would have explained it well to them?
I was not among them. That's what I'm saying.
I understand.
Yes, I was not among them.
But you don't have to be there, though.
But see, the point is this. I do honestly want Dangote refinery to not Dangote refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery to work. I also want the BUA refinery to come on stream. I want the Kaduna refinery to come on stream. I want the Port Harcourt refinery to come on stream. But the truth is this. We have to be honest with ourselves, right? All these controversies are needless. In fact, it is an indictment that when such a groundbreaking, achievement was arrived upon, it was met with doubts, and even had we saw the DG of the GMD of NNPC saying about blending, trying to say blending is a part of the process and the rest of that, and arguments back and forth and, that kind of thing. I mean, the best thing for NNPC to do is to put this to bed, right? We all want credibility here for the sake of Nigerians.
All right.
It's a welcome development, even if it is blending. It's welcome, but they should, I think the best thing is to show Nigerians this is where the crude passes from.
The true state of things.
Yes, this is how we get the crude. This is it. Is the reformer working?
This refinery is not relatively a new refinery. It's been there. It's been doing the job of refining before it went moribund. So reviving it now and coming to start reorientating Nigerians on how refineries work, I don't think that's
it's not about
that might be
it is not about reorientating Nigerians about how refinery works.
It's just establishing the trust.
It's just that establishing the
trust back to normal now.
Yes. I mean, if you go with pressmen and say, you know what, this is where we get our crude. This is where we do this. This is where we do that. I mean, it's because the truth is,
but even at that,
trust has broken down.
Even at that, they could still put up a shadow and still tell people this is how it is and not.
But at least we have it on record that they lie to us on video.
Now, will the refinery's completion help stabilize fuel prices? Because that's one of the most important aspects of the whole thing, and reduce the cost of petrol and production.
Well, if you ask me, I mean, from the little I know about fuel prices, I think crude oil prices will always determine the outcome of PMS. Maybe shipping, cost of shipping, premiums on insurance for shipping cargoes and the rest of that, maybe geopolitical issues in the Middle East or wherever we pass our, ship our, PMS and other,
But this is refined locally now.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, that would bring down the price in terms of what we pay. Yeah. But I don't think it will be substantial enough for us to return to the time of having 100 naira per liter or 100 and something.
Might be a tall task.
No. That's not, it's not even possible.
And I have to ask you this very quickly. Do you think the revival of the Port Harcourt refinery would wake up moribund refinery projects across the country?
I mean, they are working on a lot. Kaduna refinery is going on. At least last time I checked, there's the one with the South Korean company that is working on it. At least that's officially, what. So we are hoping. Okay. We are hoping. And that's why I'm telling you, if this Port Harcourt refinery, all these rumors about blending naphtha, not blending naphtha, blending this or working or not working, if all these are put to bed, you reestablish trust. Everything that is happening, and I'm going to link it to the first point, even the tax, this is happening, it's a breakdown of trust between the governed and those who are governing. Okay. You understand? That is the truth. For government to function properly, there has to be reestablishment of trust. Right. You have to show the willingness to carry out things and show that this is the state of things the way they actually are. But
at least with the way things are going now, it will no longer be a monopoly market where you have just the Dangote refinery doing the job. Other players come into play, and hopefully that might actually determine price and maybe bring it down to the barest minimum.
Oh, well, monopoly. But you see, the thing is this. Monopoly, maybe let's say in PMS. Okay. But we've always had modular refineries. Okay. The one in Imo, the one in, producing diesel. Okay. BUA is coming upstream. Okay. So, I mean, Dangote refinery, whether monopoly or not, it's going to be there for us that will benefit from it. Cameroon is coming to buy. That's FX. Yes. A lot of things. Quite a lot of things. So if we are saying monopoly, but I will still say that Dangote refinery coming on stream and Port Harcourt refinery coming on stream would improve collectively Nigeria.
The whole thing.
Yes.
All right, good. Finally this week, the Association of Senior Staff of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions attributed the current naira scarcity in the country to the inability of the Central Bank of Nigeria to meet the cash demands of commercial banks. The president of the association, Olusoji Oluwole, highlighted the impact of the scarcity, especially during this festive season where there is increase in the demand for cash. He also emphasized the need for the CBN to provide clear statistics on cash circulation to boost distribution efficiency. So Priala Membre is still in the house with me. Now, so Priala, very quickly, now the cash crunch has been linked to artificial scarcity in some way, right? What precisely could be the factors responsible for this naira scarcity?
Well,
just from your perspective.
The factors, I mean, it's a blame game. The bankers are blaming the central bank is blaming the bankers. I mean, I was reading a report, the central bank saying that we have over 4 trillion naira in circulation. That's from 1.29 trillion year-on-year rise. That's from last year till this point. And all this cash is outside the banking system. And I was reading the report, I was talking about the fact that so the bankers are saying people take money from the bank, but quote and unquote, retailers. So we have people that retail our currency now. Okay. It's weird when you hear some kind of things, when they say, some things are just absurd. Okay. Retailers are now retailing currency and cashing in on this. And this was why, till tomorrow, I would say that there's a really need for us to go back to integrating cashless system. Okay. Cashless payment system. Okay. All this is happening because we are still a cash-based economy.
Now, you have said that. Now, you also, all the while you were talking, you also talked about trust.
Yes.
Isn't this also about trust? Because from the argument that consumers could have possibly lost faith with the online transactions, which you are also advocating for cashless policy, now, especially with issues affecting major banks and their online operations, how are you sure that people have not reverted back to the old ways of having to have their cash in hand instead of going online to do transactions, knowing that things could go haywire anytime?
Okay, but you see, this thing is also about the policy of the central bank. Okay. Policy of the central bank and as a regulator of the banking system. If people fail or if banks do not adjust their infrastructure to be more reliable, they should be penalized. The problem is that banks are not we know of people, banks losing in droves, tech, IT experts leaving. Some banks are not even able to quickly replace, so there's that knowledge gap that is also affecting this whole infrastructure, So we have to look at this thing from the rudiments. The policy of the central bank towards airing banks, very important and essential. Also, enforcement of that policy, very important and essential, because we've heard central bank saying if a bank does not reverse so and so amount of money in terms of this thing, they will pay so and so fine. Never happened. I remember going, when I was in Port Harcourt, I went to lay a complaint and I was all about this, and nothing ever happened.
But I'm sure you cannot take away the fact that we cannot completely exonerate the past CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, and how he, operated while he was governor. But
see, this is not about Godwin. I don't want us to go back to Godwin Emefiele and how he operated. We are talking about who is there now, right? If you feel that there's something Godwin Emefiele did when he was wrong, when he was central bank governor, that you believe it was wrong, correct it. I don't think we should be stuck on Godwin Emefiele and what he did.
So you don't think the correction would take time?
But the question is this. You're talking about cash crunch, right now.
Of course.
What is causing the cash crunch?
Okay, let's look at this issue here very, very, very swiftly. Now, whether you like it or not, the surge, the emerging surge of POS operators, at the moment, the number of operators are said to be close to 3 million, according to the recent data release. Now, rather than wait for cash, they go round retail outlets, supermarket operators, fuel stations to mop up cash. Instead of these cash to be deposited in banks, POS operators seize them from for their business operations. So how can we control this pandemic? Obviously, this is also a major issue, because now we don't have monies at the ATMs anymore. When was the last time you went to the bank? When was the last time you went to the bank?
But you see, the thing is this. No, the thing is this. So there was a cartoon I saw on the Punch newspaper, an award-winning cartoon. There is a picture of Nigerians going to a POS operator, and there is a picture of the POS operator going to the bank to carry cash on his head. So a cartoon, a caricature. The point is this. No matter how POS operators go round and round in banks, there's a reason why businesses don't even give money to banks. You understand? Because those people in the banks collaborate with the POS operators to go and grab that cash.
So now what you're saying is
it's policy.
Those who are pointing fingers at the CBN are also culprits.
But they are culprits. It's played out. It's played out several times. Even during the time of the so-called cashless policy, cash crunch, when it was so last year, we saw bank operators. We are all calling the central bank, but we saw also bankers hoarding cash. So those who are blaming the central bank are also not blameless. But the central bank cannot also be exonerated because they are they set policy for the banking sector, and they are regulators. They have to up their game. They have to look at a way of curtailing this.
So you do not think that the surge in POS operators is also a problem with cash crunch?
Well, POS operators surge is as a result
of the inadequacy
of the
banking system.
Yes, they are taking advantage of the system. From over 1.2 something trillion, you are getting 4 point something trillion year on year. That's scary for cash in circulation. And you can't tell me that the central bank is blameless.
So how do you think this can be managed, to the barest minimum, to at least get some cash in and not allow 4 trillion to be out there dangling?
There are other ways of, I won't even say, cash out there is also part of what is contributing to inflation. It's also part of it. But there are other ways the central bank can attract monies into the banking system. Long-term, short-term policies. Especially when you look at how they are able to get incentives for customers to come and deposit money.
Or don't you think we should start advocating for our young men to start going back to, to skilled labor, where you have mechanic workshops? Now, you hardly find men in mechanic workshops anymore. Carpentry. Everybody's picking up a POS machine now to go and do business.
But it's a function of the system now.
Function of the system.
That is creating...
encourage skilled men with strength now pick up POS machine, and they're out there on the streets trying to make money.
Carpentry, men doing carpentry does not have anything to... But the point is this, the CBN has to, step up their game. They have to make the bank depositing money in the banks attractive for Nigerians.
Now,
Nigerians are going there because they will tell you, if I go to that bank to deposit 100,000 naira, can I get the 100,000 naira back? You know that banks will give you 10,000. Okay. You go to the above, I want to get my cash, they'll give you 10,000 naira. So if someone that does big businesses, especially those who do fishing in the, that look a lot of cash, in the fishing ports and other areas, what do you expect them that they rely on cash? How do they, so the banks have to live up to expectation, and the CBN has to be sure on, enforcing sanctions on the banks.
This is a good place to leave it. Sophia Membre, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time talking with you.
Likewise.
You've been quite expressive, and you're going stronger every time. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right. And that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. I am Marco Tabo. Until next week, goodbye.